Here we are, round 4 in NSORRA. We're in Cape Breton at Craigmore for round 4 again. This is the second race at this track this year. Due to the wood closures, they've had to reschedule some of the locations. I haven't been on the bike much in a month and a half, only a couple hours, so definitely was planning to be a little rusty. So I didn't really have any expectations coming into this race. I had a decent start there, ended up in 4th going in the first corner here. The initial section through here, they had changed the direction and flow up a little bit, so just took a minute to get my bearings in here, but certainly it was, it incorporated majority of the same areas, just the direction or flow was a little different, but conditions actually were really good this race. We have received a little bit of rain in Cape Breton, so the dust levels were down, but it wasn't enough to make the whole track really wet and muddy, so made for some good conditions for racing. So. Today my main goal was to finish the first round. I had a DNF in Craigmore. It had rained. I think rain's an understatement. It poured that first race, and I got a lot of water in my throttle housing, and it ended up seizing up my throttle, so I was unable to finish the race. I ended up actually going down early on in the first lap, and took me a little while to realize, but I had twisted the front end pretty bad, so the front end wasn't working properly either. So today was a little bit of a redemption. Just my main goal was to finish the race. I really didn't have any expectations to finish high up. I had gotten 2nd and 3rd in the other 2 races, so I was sitting okay in the points for the year, but I'm quite content with only the 2-hour races. I'm certainly not at a level where I feel like I could be competitive in a race that was much longer. I definitely don't have a lot left in the tank when I'm finished even these 2-hour races. So. Coming down into here, it was really loose, and I ended up losing the front end and kind of simultaneously fell off the bike as I washed the front out. But anyway, nothing catastrophic, but Hussey did get by me there, and that was one of the first mistakes that I made of many. This section through here, there's a few switchbacks on some steeper hills, and it posed to be a challenge for a few laps coming through. There were some guys stuck. There's some really exposed roots there that I can't remember if I put in all the sections that I struggled on those areas, but definitely some of those times coming up through there I was not super clean. This brook section coming up, I found it was odd because it looks dry, but the rocks were really slick for some reason. But just couldn't seem to get any momentum, I think was my main issue, so I was spinning a lot. So once again, another mistake cost me another position. So there's this new hill climb here. It usually went off to the right, but there was a hill climb up straight through, and as you can tell, I couldn't even get any momentum there. But I knew if I was going to try that hill, I'd have to have some decent momentum. So I had to go around, and another guy got by me, and then almost a second guy there, just in that one bypass. So I knew if I was going to keep a decent position that I was going to have to start getting a good enough drive coming up out of that rock garden to use the hill climb to save a bit of time. Probably took about 15-20 seconds to go through the bypass, so every little bit helps when you're trying to stay at the front of the pack. So this is by far the most elevation change of any of our courses that we have in the province for the Hare Scramble, so I always really enjoy coming here. Just poses a little different dynamic and vibe throughout the race, just a lot more up and down hill, and some of these sections were quite tight, so it was hard to tell the first lap around exactly where you were going to go. Still not 100% familiar with this course. I've only done it a handful of times, so it's hard to tell. You're kind of right on the face of a mountain there, and there's quite a bit of a drop off, so I don't think if you went off there it would end up being a good situation. So I always try to avoid looking down there at all possible. This time I did forget to start my watch, so I didn't know exactly where I was. I'm always bad for looking at the time when I come through the start-finish just to see where I'm at, but I did have to focus a little more on that when I came through, just so I could kind of keep an eye on where I was at. Coming up this hill, I was quite loose and rocky, but he had a problem there on that hill, and I was able to sneak by him. I wasn't entirely sure exactly where to go, but I did just catch the rider in front of me going up over. But this is the first time that I've been up over this section, so I wasn't confident on the direction of where it was going to be going. It's hard to tell, but there's a lot of loose rock, like larger rock, so coming through here, I was just trying to be steady on the clutch and the throttle, just super loose there, but hit a rock there funny. It didn't look like much on camera, but felt way worse. I do remember the way that felt when I came off that and landed on a little rock, but a lot of little rolly rocks. But as the day went on, the course kind of cleared up a little bit. New little section they brought us down through here into the woods. Hadn't really seeded in yet, but traction wasn't too bad. There were some rocks kind of here that gradually got more exposed as the day went on. Overall, the temperature was really good. I think it was just under 20 degrees this day. There was a bit of a breeze, so it actually made for a really good day. Especially not being on the bike for quite some time. My endurance and my fitness was definitely not on par of where it needed or should have been. So it definitely helped me a lot in that area, just not having to overheat the whole day. I followed this guy for a little while. When I'd make some mistakes, he'd pull ahead and then I'd catch up to him, so I knew that eventually if something happened with him, I'm able to get by him. But at this point in the race, I wasn't really motivated to try to pass too much. I just kind of was doing my own race, and I would capitalize on any situation if it kind of came up, but I wasn't hungry to the point where I was trying to pass people when I didn't need to. Mainly to conserve energy, and quite often I find when I do try to pass or push myself, I sometimes get a little jacked up and make a small mistake. So I think I looked back behind me there just to see if anyone was behind me, but I'm confident in that spot that there was no one right on me. Camera doesn't really do elevation changes justice, but you know, just kind of constantly going uphill and as the day progressed, I was able to find a little bit more of a flow coming up and down those sections through there. This next section here was quite grown in, and I never really was able to get a good flow through here for some reason. I think I might throw a little bit of the section of it up a little later, but it was just challenging to see. It was quite tight. At this point I did feel like I had a little more pace in me, so I was starting to kind of get to the point where I wanted to get by this guy, because I didn't know how close the guy behind me was, so I was like, well, I need to at least maintain a pace that I feel comfortable that I can sustain. But I do find that sometimes the challenge is getting by, and not a lot of spots to capitalize on passes, and then when you do get in a section where it's a little faster, everybody's able to go fast, so it makes it a little hard. But coming up to the switchback here. That time I made it through okay. Definitely was one area where I struggled throughout the day on. And I'm not really sure what happened there, but
it's hard.
Melissa being supportive there, supportive, asked me what I did wrong, but at that point I didn't really know. But looking back, I might have hit a rolling rock or something and just lost the front. But I struggled pretty bad in this Rocky Brook section. But
Yeah, it's slick. It's really slick.
I found that I couldn't get any traction, so my arms were getting a little more jacked up than I wanted. So took a second or two there just to chill out. So I did spend almost another full lap before I caught back up to the same guy that I was following. So I had messed up quite a bit in that section, so I was like, well, I lost a lot of time in the fact that I was able to catch back up. I was able to carry a pace somewhere to get back to the guy in front of me. So I just knew if I kept making mistakes like that, there'd be no way that I'd end up getting by him. But here's that ingrown, tighter section that I was talking about earlier coming through here. I just found it really hard to see the course, so I was quite slow. I just maybe wasn't confident, so I didn't really push myself hard. But steeper downhill coming through here with a little drop at the bottom, and kind of a fun little section there. I enjoyed coming down some of those. So getting back into those more technical kind of switchback-ish areas of the course. Looks like someone that got stuck on the hill there, and I was planning to go behind them, but for some reason my brain, I decided to go up over, and I was able to get that pass on the guy in front of me there, so that one worked out in my favor. And coming back up through that brook section, just watching this, I feel like a rag doll right now watching this. Just really struggling to get any momentum and flow here, and hitting the rocks, and yeah, so I'd go for a little tumble. I cut some of this out, but I struggled here for, I'm going to say, a minute or two. But I didn't leave the entire struggle on, just for your convenience, so you didn't have to listen to me breathe heavy for the next couple minutes. But so all that work that went into getting by Buddy, he snuck by me there. And I eventually did get out of there, and a little while later I caught back up to him. So coming up this loose rock again, it looks like he kind of went on the high side and slipped down, and traction wasn't great, but I had a little bit more momentum, and kind of side by side there, but I had a little bit more to get by him there. And I was finally able to get up that hill climb there, so for the rest of the race I did try to do that because I knew it was going to save me in 15-20 seconds every time, so definitely pushed myself the rest of the race to do that. There was one or two times that I didn't make it, but anyway, we're coming into the finish line here, 2 hours 15 minutes. Certainly I finished the race. That was my main goal, and I hope you guys enjoyed the race, and until next time.